I'd like to welcome everyone to the Monday, April 27th Pine Bluffs Town Council meeting. Will everyone join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item is approval of the agenda.
I move to amend the agenda to add the review and approval of a plat
Okay, for the Baptist.
for the Baptist Church.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I
Motion carries.
move to approve the agenda as amended.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. New business and action items.
Consent.
What?
We're gonna do the consent agenda. I'll move to approve the consent
I thought you
agenda.
did. Oh, okay,
I'll second it.
so it's been moved to approve the consent agenda. I heard a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Are any of you here regarding the permits that were on the consent agenda? Okay. I just know sometimes there are, and people sit through the whole meeting and their permits were approved. So on to new business and action items. Review and approve the restricted watering schedule.
Yes, so something that I would like to point out is, at the last meeting, we discussed how there really wasn't much change from last year to this year, but, you know, when I went back and looked further at data from 2023 and 2024, during the winter months, we would have a significant recharge in our wells. Last year's data was very similar to this year's in that we had a dry winter and we didn't have the recharge that we would normally expect to see in our wells. It doesn't appear as though the moisture is gonna get much better this year. So I recommend that we put watering restrictions in place. And those restrictions would be something that we normally try to suggest, but now I think it needs to be enforced, is that watering be prohibited between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. And that residents should only be able to water 3 times per week. While we cannot really enforce how long they water, I think it will be evident if we have some people that are maybe taking advantage of that, and we just need to maybe have a conversation with them. If you elect to go to this restriction of 3 days a week, I included an excerpt from our Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, on what we have the ability to do. I would imagine that you wouldn't want us to jump into turning off somebody's water right away, but that we at least have that conversation with that resident first, letting them know that, you know, we are in a drought situation, and a significant drought situation, and that it has been for 2 years now, and that it could be impacting everybody in the community. So while we have plenty of wells, and while, you know, we want people to be able to enjoy their yards and their lawns, we really need to look at the long-term health of our water system and have everybody work together to ensure that we follow these guidelines. And if you agree with that and the flyer that is attached, we will get that flyer mailed out to every water customer that we have.
One of the things I was concerned about, Kim, I agree we need to go to restricting the number of days so that people aren't watering every day. But one of the things that I was thinking about is for, let's say some of the elderly citizens and that they want to take good care of their yard. But is grandma gonna have to be out there dragging her garden hose around at 6 in the morning to get her lawn watered because she can't do it between the hours of, and I suppose you could water between 8 and 10,
Sure.
and that's okay. But something that maybe we could do on the website is suggest that people purchase the watering timers,
Yes, absolutely.
and they can put it on their hose and tie it to like an oscillating sprinkler so that it'll come on
Yes.
in the middle of the night and it'll water for an hour in a particular area. But I imagine that doesn't occur to some people that they could do that. They think, oh, water my lawn, they have to go out there and set the sprinkler and then
Yeah.
set the oven timer and run out there and change it every few minutes.
When we look at our utility billing every month and you look at some of our folks that have the higher water consumption during the summer months, I can assure you that 99% of them aren't our senior citizens that are out there that are overwatering.
Okay.
And chances are, if they care about their lawn, they've got their lawn already trained to accept water probably on just 3 or 4 days a week. They've probably got great turf. But we absolutely can make other suggestions. And, I know that our PD is also inclined to help seniors whenever they need extra help. So I am quite sure that our police department will get out there and assist them if they need help with those things.
Okay. For those of us that have a sprinkler system, it's easy. You just
Absolutely,
program
yes.
it to run in the designated hours and then just make sure you're not overwatering.
Yes.
It's hard to keep an eye on it to see it's overwatering when it's coming on at 4 in the morning. But
Yes. I'd also like to let everybody know that, we've already had this discussion with our Public Works team, and while they generally don't water any particular area more than 3 times a week, it has been stressed that they absolutely not do that. I do think we also need to have a concession in place for anybody that is planting new sod, new seed, or trees.
yeah, where you have to water every
that
day or
they,
it's not
yeah,
gonna make
that
it.
they keep it watered every day, and I think they just need to let us know at the town hall that they're doing that. And with this flyer, we will include, a letter to our residents, outlining some of these other things and other tips. I think the flyer is mostly, it's colorful, it's eye-catching, Jerica did a great job with it. I think that's really to get their attention when they first open the mail. And then we'll toss a letter in there with some other information.
The BOPU website had some really good tips on it that maybe
Yes.
we could snag, but they also had a new lawn permit.
Yes, they do
And
have a
so
new lawn permit.
maybe that's something, that's their way they can let us know that
Yes.
they planted sod, and can we
Right.
be a little lenient on that? The other question I did have was about bullet point 3 with the surcharge for water use that exceeds a certain number of gallons per month. I think that could get really tricky as yard sizes fluctuate. Like, if I have a bigger yard than Amy, my gallon usage would be bigger from the jump. So I think that would be really hard to enforce.
Yeah, absolutely, and like I said, I think that we'd have to bring Alex in on that one, and do we need to do a resolution or an ordinance or something like that, but, again, when we run the utility billing, Leanne sees exactly how much water every household uses. And, she generally sorts the bills so that she can catch all those that are high use, mostly because we're looking for leaks. But, we're in the habit of doing that every month, so I think that, if we see somebody that's using upwards of, 40,000 gallons a month, we can just have a little conversation with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a base fee that you guys, can you say per household, if you're a 3-person household, your typical usage should be this, and then allow so much for some amount of watering in the summer, and then anything beyond that, you just charge kind of a punitive rate for the water usage beyond that, so if it's their choice to overwater, they can do it. Gonna
Right.
cost them $1,000 a month to do it, but
Sure.
they
And
can do it.
Our water rates will be reviewed this year by y'all, and, you know, one of the things is we have the different break points, that if you use, you know, your first 12,000 gallons is included in your base rate. And that generally more than covers
Most people.
most people, maybe not in the summer months, but even somebody that takes care of the yard, you know, maybe they use 20 to 25,000. Our rate structure takes it so that between 40 and 60,000 is, I think you jump up, is that where they jump to 5?
Yeah,
And then over 60,000 is 10 per thousand. And so I think once you hit that 60,000, I think that's probably more of an overuse, even for somebody with a fairly large size yard.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of water.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we know of several people who have gorgeous lawns, and I think the most I've ever seen them use in a hot, dry summer was around 40 to 42,000. And usually when they hit that rate, they're like, woo, it gets their attention when they get their water bill. But, you know, if we have anybody that's, you know, so we just might wanna look at that, and I think that that would be, a little bit more of a deterrent.
We could step that rate up, like the 40,000 go to something higher than
Yes.
10 and.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's good moving forward, period, because, you know, at some point then it's just really overwatering. How much of that water is just going down the street and not actually soaking into the yard anymore, and.
And with the fine, do we have the, like, first offense is this, second offense, like,
We do not, and that's why I said I think that what we could look at is, you know, like with any fine, it would be up to the discretion of our PD to say, okay, I'm kind of giving you a warning. You know, next time you could potentially get a fine of up to $750. And, usually that gets folks' attention, but I think the goal is not to just jump to a fine in any of these cases, it's to really educate the folks, and, you know, maybe somebody got their mail and they said, you know, oh, this is junk, and tossed it to the side, or they didn't get their letter in their post office box, or whatever the case may be. So I think the goal is to educate, and then if you have somebody that's basically, just, you know, saying, I really don't care what the situation is, then we would, by all means, probably give you guys a call and say, here's the situation, and we're probably gonna move forward with a fine on this one. So, it would take a lot to get us to the point where we just shut off their water and charge them
I really don't like the idea of just shutting somebody's
Yeah,
water off.
no, we wouldn't do that. I just put that in there so that you are all aware of what the ordinance states, and, again, my recommendation is we just try to educate the public first, and then, you know, again, if we have somebody that's really pushing back or being nasty, then we do have options.
And maybe this isn't a today answer, maybe this is a Chris Lidstone answer. Do you happen to have any information on the drawdown of well 5? Like, it looks like it refills itself at some point in the middle of last summer, but it never really went back up after that. Like, it had a massive drawdown in July. And then it refills really, like, pretty nicely, but then, and maybe it's just because we ended the summer on a drought, but I was curious if there was any sort of information on that
I may
one.
have an answer, hang on one second.
The rest, while they had some drawdown, it wasn't as significant as that one.
Is well 5 the one that has high nitrates?
No, well 5 is a deep well, so it's a high producer. I want to say that we had issues with well 5. We had some transducers that weren't working at one point in time, so it could be maybe an off reading. And I know that Chris is working with Andy and Lauren to make sure that everything is calibrated correctly, so, that may just be, an anomaly in the data due to poor
Yeah.
transducer
No,
data.
it seemed odd,
It
like
is,
compared to all the
yes.
others. Well, they did have some drawdown that didn't really get refilled. That one was more significant than the others. So I was just curious if there was maybe some sort of technical thing, or if we were really using that much water.
So, and I do know that for a while there, remember we had well 9 that was down for a significant amount of time, which is another deep well. And we also, at one point in time, we didn't have well 10 fully online yet, which is our 3rd deep well. So
We
well
may have
5
just
was
used that
just
a lot.
going double time there for a while.
Sure.
So, would you all be in favor of going into watering restrictions officially?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the restrictive watering schedule.
Second.
All those in favor?
I
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item is review and accept letter of intent. A letter of intent to purchase real property.
Yes, so if you all look at the map, and we have Tim and Wyatt here that are the parties interested in that particular lot.
This is the one that's just north of the Rears Building and south of, the daycare academy. I don't wanna touch that and make it, yeah. We wanna purchase that so that we can build garages on it to go with our townhomes, where we just tore down the Masonic Lodge. That was a chore. Oh my gosh,
It looks wonderful.
Thanks. Yeah, it's nice to have it, nice to have it down, yes.
The big giant hole's better than the eyesore.
I didn't realize they had a basement under part of that.
I didn't either. That's fine, we can share.
That's their game.
I'll just kinda
It's
hand it
fine,
out to
we
you.
can,
We can share.
So this is 4th Street, this is where the Masonic Lodge used to be, and this is the lot right here that we're talking about. And I had Stiles mark the corners, the corner pin of the property. And, that took me almost a month and a half because they're working on the official plot plan for a replat, so we can kind of. Maybe I'll do that.
So you can give it to them, we can share with them.
I have 6 of them.
One of the things that we look at on our proposal is to give the city the right-of-way easement in between the 2 buildings by the daycare. And that would be for, the right-of-way easement would be listed as, and that'll have to go to your attorney, but for the life of the city, so in perpetuity, basically, which would not have to go through the replatting process or separating that off in a separate deed, but just to basically donate that to the city and allow the city to maintain it at the city's expense, so there wouldn't be any disruption in between the 2 buildings and where you had that nice rock garden and everything that was going on there.
And that surface drainage, there's a storm drain in the middle of that.
Right.
That rocky area, landscaped, xeriscaped area in between, 311 and the, daycare.
And where that would come out, in the east side of the building toward the alley, there's a drain that comes off of the roof. And if you look where that drain is, Wyatt put a little rock out, a bigger rock, if you will.
I can paint some lines
to
or something
post
with
it,
some,
but
you know,
It's there, it's about 4 feet away from the sidewalk area for the
6.
kids, 6, and about 2 feet to the west. is there. So it still has that area that will go all the way through to the alley that would be for the city.
We would not interrupt their sidewalk or anything at all, but it's gonna remove, 4 of their parking spaces that are in the back on the alley there, that are actually on this lot. Where you can see that I put, garage.
3, 4, and 5.
Yeah,
On
4 and
garage 5, basically, right?
Yeah, well, 3, 4, and 5 is on that lot.
Okay.
It still seems like there's a lot of, like, frontage back there for them to park.
So, yeah, there is, and they don't hardly use those other spots, they just use the
Yeah.
ones that are kinda to the south of their building there, which is, I found kinda interesting, I don't know why they do, but.
Yeah.
The GIS map has a little bit of a discrepancy, it's skewed about 6 foot, those lines are 6 or 8 feet to the north, further than they should be,
Not
she's looking at that
surprising,
tablet,
yeah. Yep, after, like, about Main Street, some of those assessments are off on the GIS.
Yeah,
They-
just a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a little off, which is why I had it marked out.
I don't see any reason why they can't park back there.
yeah, I think there's plenty of
I don't
frontage
think that's a
there.
problem.
Yeah, whether they did straight parking or angled parking, and maybe the city later in time made that a one-way direction, so that alley, that way they angle parked, they'd have more spaces that way as well.
Lots of options.
But the letter of intent would be to give the city the right-of-way easement for that, allow the city to maintain it, do whatever they want to do with it. Totally them, we would donate it, that to the city, and just take the land for the garages.
Great.
And we would maintain and take care of that space there.
Perfect.
Sounds good to me.
I move to
What do you
approve.
think, Dave?
I'm still looking here. So, would the town then be responsible for everything outside the footprint of the garages?
No, we would take from the garages to the south of that area right there, and the city would basically have
Just where I wrote access easement.
that access, the red part in between.
Right.
Yeah, and that would be the city's. Basically what you're already maintaining and currently have maintained and developed.
Before we vote on this, Alex may have, a legal concern about how we would have to handle this particular, property sale.
Way to go.
Well,
Way to blame it on
I-
me. Well, it's likely worth more than $500, which means we have to advertise it and take bids.
We'll give you $500.
Well,
Yeah.
we'd have to
fair market
wait.
value,
Yeah.
fair market value. And we wanna do what's right, and whatever the city requires to be done. And we look at that as a kind of a way to develop so that we don't take up as much, street parking for the development of the townhomes.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So what do we have to do, Alex? Do we just have to
We
advertise
have
it?
to follow the statute on sale of public property.
Okay.
So rather than approving this letter of intent, we would need to make a motion to put it out to bid. Is that what
Yeah.
you're suggesting then? Okay.
So is that to bid, or would that be for public record, so you'd have to publish it, and then whoever wanted to possibly bid on it would be the process, if I'm correct?
So we'll get it listed in the Pine Bluffs Post this week.
Right,
And, we can have this turned around in, what, do I have to do it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I think it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks, so.
2 weeks, and then there's gonna be another reading at the next council meeting, then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So once we open the bids, then all is said and done, provided we meet whatever minimum we set in the advertisement, so.
Can you put a bid that's the highest bid plus $1?
I don't think so. That's not fair.
No, and if anybody has any questions on the project, altogether, let us know, happy to answer any questions, because like I said before, one of the things we wanna do after we get done with this is maybe take a look and see what the city has for abandoned buildings and get some rentals to help your 300-acre development, because we're already hearing rumblings, in Cheyenne and Burns about how they're gonna be able to transport even us, subcontractors to be able to work here without extra gas surcharges, especially now with the prices going
Yeah.
up.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard heard that too.
Kim, are there any utilities underneath where the garages are at, or where the approach would be that we need to worry about?
No, I don't believe they are.
I had them all located, everything's in the alley, gas and electric are in the alley, sewers in Fourth Street. The gas to the, existing building comes in this easement, the utility easement that I left here between our new townhomes and 311 Main Street, or 311, yeah. I can double check on that for you as well.
Yeah.
But if there's any utilities there that need to be moved, we'll have to pay to move them, so.
Say, I know Lauren looked at all of the town utilities, so the only question was gas and.
Right.
Yeah.
And Black Hills is so wonderful to work with.
When they finally showed up, we found them.
Yeah.
Good.
Great.
I move to put, I guess I don't know how to identify this piece of property. The east 40, the east 40 feet of lot 15, east 40 feet of lot 16, and the north 20 of the west 100 block of lot 16, block 12, out for bid.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second to put the property out to bid. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing
Can we
none.
amend it that we add
Oh,
the minimum
so-
price?
It is 3 publications.
3 publications, okay.
3 publications.
You had
Don't
Do I have to change
we have
anything
to
the
have a
way
minimum
it's stated
price
it?
in it?
No.
It's like
No?
No, it was nebulous
think they
enough
said
that we
it
could
was
roll with it.
Okay.
Have it
Appraised.
priced, yeah.
We need to get it appraised, right?
What's that?
Does it need to be appraised, or can you just do it by a square
Well,
foot,
minimum of.
a square foot basis,
I
or?
think the consensus is that it's worth more than 500.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it is.
So-
You can't buy anything
So no.
for $500.
So you don't, the only reason to appraise it would be to set a floor on the bids. You could, and sometimes that happens. We do that with equipment,
Yeah.
we'll take a bid of X, but
How many square feet of land are we talking? Do you know?
It's on the GIS.
It is on the
It is,
GIS.
that part is actual on the GIS, as far as we know. But the one thing, that I looked at was, we were trying to find out what to propose for the city and what to be able to do, and looked at it. And looking at your comparables for your vacant land, per square foot or per acre, that's kind of what we went off of. We're real close to right at that fair market value.
And what was
really
that
the
value again?
usability of it.
10,000.
10,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
and what we looked at was the value of the garage space, not the right of way, because the
Okay,
right of way
yeah,
wouldn't
that
have any
makes sense.
value.
It's 4,000 square feet.
Okay.
But the portion we would be using not,
Yeah,
that's not in
but
your
yeah,
access
so.
easement.
And the
But
bottom
it's also a
line
really
is
awkward
the-
shape,
it
which
is an
somewhat
awkward
decreases the value of the property.
Yeah.
And the frontage along Main Street is not wide enough
To be usable
to be
property.
usable property.
Yeah. So we ought to take that into account when we're
Absolutely, yep.
deciding what we need to do.
if you're gonna put a data center in there, it's gonna cost you $2 million.
Yeah, right,
I had to
Yeah.
make the choice whether I
I
was
just
gonna.
did the math.
yeah. And it looks like it would be about half and half, 2,000 square feet and 2,000 square feet,
Okay.
so.
It's 4,000.
So when we put it out, Kim, do you just put it out for bid?
I do, and I can put a minimum on it if you would like, or just put it out for bid and see what happens, so.
I don't know.
So.
I don't think,
what-
I just don't see it as being a huge, draw for people when they, because chances are they're gonna call and ask about it, and we'll say, well, you can't build anything on Main Street, so.
Alex, what would you recommend on
Yeah.
that?
Can I put in there something to the effect that 2,000 square feet needs to remain a town easement
Well, we haven't.
in the bid, or in the advertisement?
Is it that much?
2,
So you're only getting 2,000
Right.
square
Correct.
feet?
correct. And so
Right.
to, what I would recommend or suggest, is point them in the direction of Laramie County GIS. And maybe have the link to where that's at, in your publication so they can see what it looks like and what the actual footprint is. And that way,
Oh, yeah.
might save you some phone calls.
So from your knowledge, based on 2,000 square feet of land, what would the GIS value be at that point?
Well, it depends on where you're from, where
Right.
you're looking.
Location,
in
yeah,
a
location and everything,
comparable
and
area.
when you're looking here in Pine Bluffs can run anywhere from $75,000 for 5 acres. And it can go all the way down to around 35,000 per 5 acres, depending on what you've got for rolling hills, land, how depth you gotta go down for water and how the utilities are and everything. So it's a wide variety. In-town city lots right now, you're looking at around that $35,000 to $50,000 mark for a city lot, so.
The only thing I would recommend is when we put the description, the legal description, we should also state in the ad reserving unto the grantor or the town of Pine Bluffs an easement, described as.
Okay.
So they know what they're getting.
Can do. Okay.
So where did that leave us?
Out to
We're
bid.
good?
I think we're good. I guess, there might be some merit in putting a minimum bid on that. It
Well,
might-
that's kind of what I was thinking
Yeah,
too.
it might actually, help the overall,
Yeah.
goal here. That's the only.
Do I hear a motion to put a minimum bid on?
Do we need to have a number for that?
Well, I think
Probably,
so.
They have an
yeah.
offer
I think
for it already.
you've got some guidance on
Let's
the
do,
number in
I
here.
move
Yeah.
to make a minimum bid of $10,000.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Is that a minimum bid for each lot or for the whole thing?
the whole thing.
For the whole thing.
Okay, you're putting in each lot as a separate thing,
It's one
right?
lot.
No,
One lot, yeah.
Oh, it's all one lot now?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Next item on the agenda is the mayoral scholarship selection.
Well, first, I just wanna say we had a great selection, or a great, set of applicants. I think we were all pretty impressed with the quality we got.
Yeah?
Based on the, I guess, letters and the goals of some of the students, we're actually going to be awarding 3 scholarships. One for, the Tom Moran Scholarship, and the other 2 would be the mayoral scholarship. So there will be 3 that we're naming tonight. And I'd say, I'll speak for you guys, but as a council, I wanna say, I think we're pretty pleased with some of the ideas, that our students had regarding how to improve our community and the impact that the community has had on them. So, I guess thank you to, our Pine Bluff seniors for taking the time to do this. We have a good bunch of young people.
Jana, would you please comment a little more on the Tom Moran Scholarship? What the primary focus of that is?
Yes, the primary focus of that one is to award it to a student who is going into law enforcement in some capacity. What else is there any other?
Law enforcement and public service.
And
Public service,
yeah, thank you,
yes.
Kim. And based on the applications we got, there was at least one student who looked like they fit that category, which we haven't had for a couple years, so it was nice to see.
Thanks, Jana.
I will move to make applicants A and H the recipients of the mayoral scholarship, and for applicant I to be the recipient of the Tom Moran Scholarship.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
I will inform those parents and we'll get them those scholarships at the next meeting if they're able to attend.
I look forward to that. I'd like to say that it was reading through them. This is a really tough thing that we have to do because all these guys are very, you know, it'd be great if we could give them all a scholarship. We can't do that, but I want to personally thank everybody that applied and wish you the best in the future on whatever your endeavor is, and thank everybody for putting in applications. We appreciate it. The next item of order is visitor comments. Do we have any visitor comments?
We had that plat also. We have a plat to approve, right?
Yes,
Oh, yeah. Well,
Kim, can you?
do you have that? It's on my desk.
thank you for reminding me, Ellie.
It was the one job Kim gave me, was to make sure that we got that
That
done
we
today.
got that done.
And I'm sorry, but we don't have a scanned-in copy, so you'll have to take a look at the larger plat. And then we'll need the mayor's signature and 2 council members, so whatever 2 wanna,
I already signed it.
oh, you, okay.
Yep. Hopefully it's.
Hopefully it passes then.
So this was just to,
This was to
to
divide.
split the house off from the
Correct.
rest of the property.
So it is this right here that is being replatted, this lot. This all was one. And that way they can sell that property or,
So what we're looking at is we're separating off the parsonage from the church, Crossroads
Correct.
Church, and they're wanting to sell off the house separately, the parsonage, the house, from the church property, and that's what we're approving right now.
yes.
If Alex will let us.
I'll let him get through the legal before I make him.
Yeah.
So did they get the deed,
Yes,
Yes.
and has it been recorded?
yes.
And we don't have any easements or right-of-ways anywhere on that property, I don't think.
No.
Well. I don't know, Jonesy signed it, so I guess I'll have to take his word for it.
I move to approve the replat for Pine Bluffs Baptist Church.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second to approve the plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Now we'll go on to visitor comments. Any visitor comments? No? On to department reports.
I've got nothing.
I didn't report at the last meeting, but the Joint Powers Board met regarding the historic high school on March 31st. And I would say that their financial situation is a little bit improved from what it was, say, a year ago. They have 7 full-time tenants in the building now. There's only actually 2 rooms that aren't rented at this point. They did raise their rental rates by 20% last year, and they're doing a little bit better than breaking even on their expenses to revenue. So, kind of gonna watch that. We're gonna have more frequent meetings, meeting every quarterly instead of twice a year, and discuss how that continues to look for the rest of this fiscal year, and decide whether any other changes in rental fees needs to be considered or not. But overall, it looks more promising than it did at our last meeting. That's what I have.
I guess what I have to report on the Eastern Laramie County landfill is that there's been a pretty substantial rate increase on the tipping fee. The rates starting July 1st are increasing from $40 a ton to $60 a ton, which will substantially impact the town of Pine Bluffs, making us have to review our trash rates yet again. It's not something that's ideal for the town, but it's, I suppose, a necessary item. And other than that, there wasn't a lot of new news out of the landfill other than they're proceeding with the next cell development, and they're running into a lot of cost overruns that are driving the rate increases to a large degree. You have anything, Ally?
Nothing for me.
I've got nothing.
Nothing, Amy? You, Alex?
Aside from the fact that I'm behind on the zoning ordinance. I think I'm all right other than that.
Okay. Leanne, you have anything?
I do have a few things. You guys all got this, if you will, it is the invite to the Burns quarterly dinner. It will be at Burns, May 20th. Oh yeah, it's in your envelope then.
Yeah, I didn't get that yet.
Yeah, you did. So if you will let me know in the next couple days or after the meeting, I have Janice, just let me know if you'll be able to make it, check your schedule. I will RSVP for everyone. Also, the dinner meeting for Wampa and Guernsey. Are any of you interested in going to the dinner, or maybe just the board meeting with the rate class?
The 20th and 21st?
It is, May 20th is the dinner and a board meeting.
It's the same.
That's the same as the
Yeah,
Burns,
it'd be the same night as Burns.
Oh, it is. Yeah, you're right.
So workshop was the next day, the 21st.
Yes.
The 21st, yes, is the, let me see, let me make sure here.
I was gonna ask for clarification on the time. The workshop starts at 11
Yes.
or 9?
I think their board meeting starts at 9 and then the workshop was
The
to
rate
start
class is at 11.
Okay.
So you guys probably, if you do anything, would probably be to go to that rate class, so.
do they stream that, like Zoom or Teams or
Some,
anything?
a
like
lot
that?
of times they do.
A lot of times they do. Let me check
Okay,
with,
I could do it then, or be interested in it,
Yeah.
otherwise,
okay,
no.
all right. I'll check with Michelle and find out
Thank
if
you.
they stream.
And that isn't open to just elected officials, so I know that either
Laura going?
Leanne or I will plan to attend that as well.
I'd have Zahara, so,
Yeah.
no, I can physically be there.
And I don't think it's, like I can just RSVP and say, there'll probably be about 3 of us. They're just trying to get an
That's
estimate.
probably fine.
So it's not like official. If you say, yes, I wanna go, and you don't go,
The
I'm not
last
gonna
day
get,
is
in-
I'd like to attend that.
okay,
Yeah, see if there's a link or anything.
Yes,
because
will do.
I think school gets out at noon that day, so I'd also have the boys.
okay.
there,
Oh,
so-
is it the last day of
Yeah.
school? Yeah, okay. I was thinking there was something else I had to ask you guys, but I guess no, that's it. That's all I have.
How about you, Kim?
Well, we finally wrapped up the 3 years of audits that we were working on, getting ready to start another one. But before that, we will be actively working through the budget process. So hand in hand with that goes, you know, the request to have another council workshop on May 11th so that we can do that budget workshop at that time. And then, as you all have probably seen the report from HDR that, you know, construction is underway on the industrial site, and things seem to be moving along pretty smoothly, so I'm sure the weather will hold out and we won't have any issues there, but I think moving forward, we'll see some great things out of PCI and HDR for that industrial park, so that's all I have. Busy finance time of year.
Thank you.
Our next meeting, our next meeting's May 11th, a workshop at 4:30, regular meeting at 6. But the meeting after that is on Memorial Day. So when would you guys like to do it?
Tuesday.
Is Tuesday okay with everyone?
It's good for me.
It won't be a workshop, it'll just be a regular
regular
meeting at
council
6, okay.
I think that works.
Okay,
What's the date on that?
26th.
alright.
I move to adjourn.
Hearing a motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay.